Hello, this is Lena Kears from Inspired Creations. I'm a Canadian independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up! And today I'd like to show you how to make this flip-flop card. I know that the word flip-flop is included in a few other card folds, but this one, it actually really does flip-flop. So it's not hard to do if we just pay attention step by step. So that's what I'm going to show you. Oh, I just have to give my doggy a treat because he likes my attention. Here you go, Pets. Okay, so now this one I made in red, real red cardstock, but the cardstock is not as thick as the thick white. So I thought this time I would try it in the thick white, and we'll see how that turns out. So I have stamped it on both sides. I've stamped the edges here. I don't know how clearly that shows. It's just like a watermark, just the red ink on the red paper. So when I do it on the white, I'll be stamping it in the green ink. So that will show up a little bit more. But I did that on both sides. So whichever side you want to display is pretty. So you can set it up this way to show, or you can show the other side. Okay, so let's get busy with that. I am using To a Wild Rose. This is a stamp set that I believe will be retiring, but it's one I haven't used very much this year, and I thought I just want to give this stamp set another try because it's a very pretty set. So the first thing we're going to do is do the cutting. So I have my basic pieces cut out here. So in this card, it was the red, but this one I'm going to do the white. And that measures 5.5 this way by 6 1/4. And then we have the pieces that will be in the center, and that is 3 1/4 by 4 and 3 by 3 3/4. So there's a 1/4 inch difference there. So you need 2 of these because you're going to have those 2 layers on the front and those 2 layers on the back. Okay, so we'll put that aside. Now along the 6 1/4 edge, that's where we're going to be doing our scoring. And I don't want to mess this up. So we're going to score at 2 5/8 inch. So 2 1/2, and then 2 more little lines is 2 5/8. And we're just going to score 1 inch from the top. So from 5 1/2, oh, not cutting, scoring. Okay, we're going to score down to 4 1/2. And then we're just going to lift it up and score from 1 inch and right down to the bottom. So those measurements are shown quite clearly here. Now, mine show a little clearer because I put white paper in behind here. I took the sticky tape and I didn't pull off the white part so that it shows a little bit more clear than just the clear. So now we're going to go from 2 5/8 to 3 5/8 and do the same thing. So from 4 1/2, you can just score that a couple of times right to the edge, lift it up, and then from 1 inch and down. So you've got these 2 score lines right here. Okay, and that is where the card folds, here and here. Okay, now we get to the cutting part, and it's a little bit confusing. But if you understand what you're trying to cut, we're trying to cut this way and this way. So from the score line right up to 1 inch. So all the edges are 1 inch all the way around. So we're just going to go between the 2 5/8 and the 1 inch here, and then at the bottom between the 2 5/8 to the 1 inch there, and then doing it the opposite on the other sides, and then cutting down to meet those cutting lines. Okay, so I'll have all the measurements posted at the end of the video where it says show more, and hopefully you'll be able to make sense of that. So we're going to cut from that 1 inch, so lining it up at 1 inch on the scoreboard, and from the 2 5/8 we want to cut down to the 1 inch. So if you see the score line there, that really helps. And then there's the 1 inch. And then at the top, you can do it at the same time, but you just have to make note of, so it's 6 1/4, so you're going to cut at 5 1/4 to the 3 5/8. So checking where the score line is again, just stop right at the score line. Okay, then we're going to move it over to 4 1/2 because this paper is 5 1/2 inches wide, so you want to leave 1 inch at that side. And we're going to do the same thing again. So cutting from 5 1/4 down to the score line. And then lifting it up and cutting again from the score line, which was 2 5/8 here, down to 1 inch. Okay, now we have to cut across here. So we're going to turn it, and we're going to go, if you're using this particular cutting board, it has the 1 inch mark on both sides of the cutting track. So we can just cut from the 4 1/2 to the 1. And then we're going to move it over here. So now we have the 1 inch on the right. And we're going to do the same cut from 4 1/2 to 1. And there we have it. Okay, so if you just make sure you understand where you're supposed to be scoring and where you're supposed to be cutting, then that helps you place it correctly on your cutting and scoring board. Okay, so now we're going to just fold these score lines and burnish them. And we'll do the same thing here. And it doesn't really matter which way you fold them because they can fold both ways. So this is what we're looking for. So we're going to put one part of the card, whichever one you want for the front. You want the words for the front, or do you want the picture on the front? So that determines what you're going to glue here. But for now, we're just going to stamp these pieces. So we'll put that off to the side. And I'm going to get my inks and my stamps. So I'm doing two stamps in the real red. And the first one is the outline. And then the second one is the distinctive part. It doesn't stamp very dark, and that's going to just cover the whole flower. And I have put a little mark on my stamp here, a little black mark, to show me that that's the top, because you need to match these three, where we're stamping 3 times. So I'm just kind of centering this, and as long as I know approximately where the top is, then it's easier to match. Okay, so there I've got the black mark again here. And try not to get my head in the picture. There we go. So that color's in the rose. And now we're going to use cherry cobbler for the accent, the dark shaded parts. And again, I've got the black mark. Okay, that looks pretty good like that. And there we go. Now that was a little bit lighter there. That didn't stamp as darkly there. I guess that ink is probably still on my stamp. Oh, that's good. A little light mark is good because that's where the sunlight hits it. Okay, now we want to stamp the leaves. And I'm using two different greens for that. I'm using the Old Olive for the outline, and then Pear Pizzazz for the fill-in. And I cut a mask, and I put the mark on there too so that I know exactly where that goes. And this way I can stamp right over top of the rose with my leaves. Okay, let's see. Don't want the stem down there. So I would like this longer leaf going into the corner here. And then the other leaves are kind of tucked in behind the rose. Like that. Do the same thing on the other side. I'm just pulling it back a wee bit because there's always a little bit of space. And even though this is just copy paper, it's not dark, it's not thick. It just leaves a wee little bit of whiteness there. So I'm trying to make that as small as possible. There we go. Now we're going to use the Pear Pizzazz, which is just a little bit lighter for the filling. There we go. Oh, didn't get much on this one. There. There we go, and then we pull off the mask, and it looks like the leaves are coming from behind the rose. That's one of the first things you'll learn if you do some flower stamping. The mask is on the front, but it looks now like the pattern's coming from behind. And I'm just going to color this center here with Wink of Stella, just to highlight the center part. If you want, you could color the whole flower. It's entirely up to you. Okay, so that's that part, and we can layer that. Oh, here's my stamp and seal. So we'll just layer this onto the Old Olive. Now, if you wanted the white card with the red background, then you just make this layer red. You know, it's not cut in stone what colors you have to use. You just make your own choices. Okay, now we're going to flip this over and we're going to do the back part. Now I am going to bring in a scrap paper here because I'll be stamping off the page. So we're going to use the same two greens again, but actually first I'm going to stamp the words. And I'm using black for that. These are the words that come in this set. The true friendship is one of God's greatest gifts. And it's so true that friendship is very important, and it is a gift. There we go with that one. And now we'll do the Old Olive for the outline again. And we'll just get as much of the green on as we can without actually stamping over the words. At least that's my goal. Okay. then we'll use Pear Pizzazz to do the fill-in again. There's the other tag. That looks pretty good. So we'll just stamp or adhere this to the other green piece. Like that. Now we're going to just mount. Well, before we do that, let's stamp the leaves in the corners here. So I guess I'm just going to stamp the outline for this. And I can still change my mind if I don't like it. I haven't done this one in white yet, so. Okay, so I'm trying not to get into the center part here. So I'm just going to go around these corners here. And do that. So, what do you think? Should I be filling them in? I have to do the back side as well. There we go. Well, today was an exciting day for me because I just got my pre-order in from the new catalog. So I haven't had time to play with it yet. Okay, so I will fill this in just to see if I like that. That's okay. This is a very, it's triple stamping, but it's very easy to follow. And especially when we have the photopolymer, that just simplifies everything. So if there's anything that you would still be needing from the 2021 catalog, the annual catalog, don't wait too long because things will start running out. I think the stamp sets will be there right till May 3rd, but the papers, the in colors, a bunch of things are already not available anymore. So if you are interested in buying anything and you're a Canadian, here's all my information. So this is my Facebook page, the link to my store, and my host code for April. And I will put this together now. That looks pretty good. Yeah, I think it's a good thing I did the fill in. It just adds a bit more color to all that white. There we go there. And make sure it's right side up. So there's the card. It flips and it flops. So you can decide for yourself. Do you like the red better or do you like the white better? The white is a little bit thicker. That's what I do like about it, but I do like the colorful look of the red. So you can try it a few different ways. You can try it with many different stamp sets. And I just wanted to use this one because I hadn't used it very much yet, and I think it's very pretty. So this one is called To a Wild Rose. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye-bye.